I used to believe abandonment was loud, screaming, slamming doors, harsh words thrown like weapons. I thought it came with chaos and drama, with a clear villain and a clear ending. I thought it announced itself so you had time to brace for impact. But the day my husband walked away, it was quiet. So quiet, it felt unreal. Like the world had muted itself on purpose. There was no argument that morning, no storm brewing in his tone. The house looked the same. The light came through the window the same way it always did. Even the clock ticked normally, unaware it was counting down the final moments of a life I thought was secure. That ordinariness made it more terrifying than any fight ever could. He stood near the doorway, keys in his hand, not rushing, not shaking. He said one sentence, calm, measured, almost polite. It landed between us like a thin sheet of ice, fragile but impossible to cross. I don't even remember the exact words anymore, only how empty they felt. Like a weather report, like something inevitable. I waited for more, an explanation, anger, regret, something human, but nothing came. Just the sound of his footsteps moving away from me, down the hallway we had walked together so many times. Each step felt like it was pressing into my chest, stealing air. Didn't realize I needed to breathe. The silence after the door closed was unbearable. It wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. It wrapped around me, thick and suffocating. I stood there, unsure if I was allowed to move, afraid that if I did, the reality would fully settle in. My life hadn't shattered loudly. It had cracked softly, and that somehow hurt more. I remember noticing the smallest details, as if my mind needed distractions to survive. The hum of the refrigerator, the faint sound of traffic outside, the way dust floated in the sunlight. Everything was painfully alive, while something inside me had just gone still. I realized then that my life was about to split into two parts. A before that I could never return to, and an after I had no idea how to enter. That realization didn't come with tears at first. It came with numbness, a cold, distant awareness that nothing would ever feel the same again. What shocked me most wasn't that he left. Looking back, maybe there had been signs I didn't want to see. What shocked me was how calm he seemed doing it, as if he had already processed the grief, already mourned the marriage, already said goodbye in his own private world. It felt like discovering I was the last person to know something everyone else had accepted, like walking into a room where the conversation had ended hours ago. I was still living inside the marriage, still believing in it, while he had quietly moved on. I wondered how long he had been preparing for this moment. How many nights he lay awake next to me, making decisions I wasn't invited into. How many smiles were practiced. How many "I'm fine" responses were lies. The thought that he had already left emotionally long before he left physically cut deeper than his absence. I stood there holding a cup of tea that had gone cold in my hands. I don't remember making it. I don't remember why. I only remember staring at the surface, watching the steam fade, thinking how perfectly it mirrored what had just happened to us. Warmth disappearing without a sound. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. That scared me. I thought pain was supposed to be dramatic. I thought heartbreak was supposed to announce itself loudly, with sobbing and collapse. Instead, it crept in slowly, like fog, blurring everything I thought I understood. I tried to speak out loud, just to hear my own voice. It sounded unfamiliar, thinner somehow. I said his name softly, as if he might hear it from the other side of the door and come back. But the house didn't respond. It just absorbed the sound and stayed silent. In that moment, memories rushed in without warning. Laughter from years ago, arguments that never really resolved, promises made casually, as if they would last forever just because we wanted them to. They played in my mind like scenes from someone else's life. I realized then how dangerous assumptions can be. I had assumed love was stable just because it existed. I assumed effort was equal just because I was trying. I assumed silence meant peace, not distance. Those assumptions collapsed all at once, leaving me exposed. The quiet forced me to face something I had avoided for a long time. That I had been lonely even before he left. That his presence had slowly become more symbolic than real. That I had been holding onto the idea of us more tightly than the reality of who we had become. Still, knowing that didn't make it hurt less. If anything, it added another layer of pain. The pain of realizing I had stayed hopeful while he had been drifting away. The pain of understanding that love can fade without cruelty, without drama, without warning. I walked through the house aimlessly, touching things as if they might ground me. The couch where we used to sit together, the wall where our photos hung. Every object felt like evidence from a life that no longer existed, proof that I hadn't imagined it all. I kept waiting for tears to come, thinking maybe then it would feel real. But my body refused. It was as if it had shut down to protect me, choosing numbness over collapse. That numbness scared me more than crying ever could. Time moved strangely that day. Minutes felt endless, yet hours disappeared without explanation. I checked my phone repeatedly, half expecting a message saying this was a mistake. Nothing came. The silence was deliberate, final. I started replaying our last conversations, searching for clues I might have missed. A distant tone, a distracted look, a lack of warmth I had brushed aside as stress. Guilt crept in, whispering that I should have noticed sooner, that this was somehow my fault. But underneath the guilt was something else, a quiet, unsettling question. If love could leave this quietly, had it ever truly been secure? Or had I simply convinced myself it was because I needed it to be? I thought about how society talks about endings, how we expect drama, betrayal, explosive fights. No one talks about the endings that happen in silence, where one person leaves gently and the other is left holding the weight alone. That kind of ending offers no closure, no clear villain, no final argument to replay in your mind, just an absence. And absence has a way of echoing louder than words ever could. As the day went on, the shock slowly gave way to fear. Fear of the future, fear of nights alone, fear of becoming someone I didn't recognize without the identity of being his wife. That fear sat quietly beside me, patient and heavy. I realized then that this moment would change me, whether I wanted it to or not, that I would either shrink under its weight or slowly grow around it. But standing there, alone in the silence, I couldn't imagine strength yet, only survival. I sat down on the floor, my back against the wall, and let the stillness press in. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I just breathed, shallow at first, then deeper. Each breath felt like an act of defiance against the emptiness. That was the moment I understood something important, even if I didn't have words for it yet. Some heartbreaks don't announce themselves. They don't give you time to prepare. They simply arrive, quietly, and take everything with them. And yet, in that quiet devastation, something else had also arrived. A beginning I couldn't yet see, a strength I hadn't yet met. But on that day, all I knew was this: the silence that followed his departure would change me forever.